The 2023-24 NFL season's over. I'm going to recap the New Orleans Saints season, give my thoughts and predictions going forward into the next season. Um, Starting things off, going into this year, I really didn't expect much of anything. I expected 10 wins. Um, Saints ended up with 9, so kind of right around where I wanted them to finish. Um, It's kind of what I expected. Weak schedule going into the season. So I knew right away, you know what, this team on paper, this is a really good team, but I had issues going into the season with coaching staff. So Dennis Allen, I've said this before, Dennis Allen is one of the best defensive minds in the entire league. So he is a great defensive coordinator. I mean, he could make a Hall of Fame career out of being a defensive coordinator, but man, he's not a very good head coach. And if you get a good offensive coordinator in there, I'm sure everything would work out. Sometimes he makes bad timeouts, sometimes he makes bad challenges. I get that. But I still think there's potential there if you get someone, the right mind in there at offensive coordinator. And going through this year, this was not really what I wanted to see, despite only being one game less than I was predicted. Week one, you play the Titans, only beat them 16-15. Going into the year, I didn't expect the Titans to be very competitive. They really weren't. And the Titans did exactly what I thought they would be. So this game shouldn't be that close. And it took a clutch drive from Derek Carr in order to do anything. And you know what? That's exactly what I expected out of Derek Carr. Going into the year, Derek Carr, I just needed him to play average. I knew going into the year we had Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Jawan Johnson, Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, a solid offensive line with Pro Bowlers and all pro players on it. And he just needed to play solid. He really didn't. He didn't even do that. And whether that's on Derek Carr or not, I don't know. I do like Derek Carr. I liked Derek Carr before he was on the Saints. I liked when he was on the Raiders. I thought he was a good quarterback. I think he's a stable quarterback. I think if you put him in the right situation, he could win. Um, the issue is he hasn't been in the right situation. He hasn't had very good coaches, and a lot of people blame Derek Carr, but he really hasn't been on very good teams. And this was the best roster he's probably been on his entire career. And you know, I don't know. I'll get to the coaches. That's that's the blame on the entire year is coaching. If you read any of my articles, you can go through a week by week basis on what I was thinking each game. Um, Week one, yeah, I mean, we weren't running the ball well, and I saw that at the end of last year, all throughout last year. This team overall looked like the team last year, just with depth. That was something that was just missing, and still bad coaching. You play the Panthers week two, kind of what I expected. It's a division game. Despite the Panthers being the worst team in football this year, they're still going to be competitive against the Falcons, the Saints, and the Buccaneers because division rivals. That happens. Uh, but yeah, that was Monday Night Football, and that was happening simultaneously with, I believe, Steelers Browns. Um, the NFL needs to just stop doing that. Don't do simultaneous Monday Night Football games or games that overlap one another. That's dumb. Everybody looks forward to Monday Night Football and seeing them overlap. We don't know what game to watch. Like, what game are we supposed to watch? I know most people were watching Browns Steelers expecting something good. Both games ended up being pretty bad. Then week three against the Green Bay Packers, I really thought that was going to be a win. It's 17-0 through three quarters, and then they just lost 18-17. You lose Derek Carr in that situation, he goes and gets hurt. It's not something you want to see. I think if Derek Carr plays out the entire game, we likely win. Jameis Winston really wasn't helping the whole situation. Also, when you put in a quarterback like Jameis, who's very turnover prone, I love Jameis. I'll go to say that I love having him as a backup. He's a great player on that sideline. All the players love him on that team. Um, he's not a great quarterback, but he's a great teammate. And you know what? We need more quarterbacks like that. Um, but you factor in quarterback like Jameis, who turns the ball over quite a bit, and an offensive scheme that doesn't know how to run the ball well. You're bound to have games like this where you just blow a lead. Um, then you play the Buccaneers, you just straight up get dominated. The Bucks just played, they were the better team. You could tell players were just getting frustrated at this point. They're getting frustrated with how the coaches are handling this whole team. And this was sort of the kick in the butt that the Saints needed because down the stretch you get into games where you're playing three playoff contenders in a row when you go to play the Texans, Jaguars, and Colts. Next game, completely dominating Bill Belichick's Patriots. I loved it. Loved watching that. It was awesome. That was the Saints team I wanted to see all year long. And, in hindsight, you are playing the Patriots, who are a poor team. Their scheme is not working anymore. Their scheme needed to be updated. Um Belichick wasn't going with the times. He like times are changing. We have a completely new offensive and defensive philosophy compared to what it was 10 years ago. And you could see that slowly with the Patriots dynasty. The years go on, the team started to shift a little bit, but not enough to do what is happening in the league today with the amount of passing that's happening, the talent at some quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes. There's new defenses, those like Vic Fangio style defenses. Um, just completely dominated the Patriots. That was fun. Got completely shut out 34-0. That was the best game of the year. Then you go play the Texans. I This was probably the turning point for me on the Texans and how I viewed them. They I wasn't like big on them. I really didn't think they were going to do a whole ton. They beat my expectations of them. So going into this game, I kind of figured we'd win easily, but the Saints didn't. So you're 3-3 up to this point. You lose to the Texans. Kind of understandable now. In hindsight, you're losing to a Texans team 20-13, and it's one score game. You really could have won that game. Then the next game, I marked this on the calendar going into the year. I knew the Saints were going to lose it to the Jaguars. Um, in a one score game, I'm happy with that. If you told me before the year we lose 31-24 to the Jaguars, okay. We're 3-4, still have a lot of the season to go. And you play the Colts, you beat the Colts 38-27. That was also one of the best games of the year for the Saints overall. The defense just all year long has played great. I mean, there's some points in the year where they don't look good. You play Detroit, when you play Ta when you play Detroit, when you play Tampa, when you play the Jaguars, there's some times where this defense looks just like the best in football. And this year, I mean, they were at times the best in football. I mean, there were some times where I was saying to myself, no defense is doing this. And then there's other times where they don't, and that's coaching. I think Dennis Allen's being spread too thin. You go beat the Colts, you go beat the Bears 24-17. Shouldn't have been that close. You're playing Tyson Bagent. You're not playing Justin Fields. Even if it was Justin Fields, there's no way that game should be that close. You have a much better defense. And your offense versus the Bears defense. Bears defense has been very inconsistent at times. Saints offense has been inconsistent at times, but I don't know. You you're 5-4 up to this point. Not a really great start, but kind of what I expected. I expected like 6-3 up to this point, but 5-4, not a big deal. Then you play the Vikings. You lose to Josh Dobbs and the Minnesota Vikings. I You can't lose that game. You got outcoached. You got outcoached in that game. Um, I can't. That was the point in the year where I'm like, I don't know where this season's headed. I can't trust the coaching staff. I think all year long I couldn't trust the coaching staff. I knew this to this point in the year. I was like, if we made playoffs, I'd be happy. It's not really. This isn't what I'm expecting. There's a lot of guys getting hurt here and there. Kamara started the year off suspended. I don't know. I mean, I expected more. This team should have beaten the Vikings. On paper, this team is better than the Vikings without Kirk Cousins, without Justin Jefferson, and man, I don't even know. That was a tough loss. And then the next 2 weeks after, I mean, you get a bye week after that, so you go into bye 5-5. You told me we were 5-5 going in the bye with who we have left. I'd be a little concerned. Um, and I kind of was. There were some losses there that probably should have ended up wins, but I get it. You lose to the Falcons. That was a huge loss. You can't lose to the Falcons in Atlanta. I mean, with how that Atlanta season went, I you can't lose those games, division rival games, so you're expected to lose some of those games. I'm shocked that the Saints even swept the Panthers. Because sometimes those division games come up and sneak up on you. You can go 16-0 and play a team that's 0-16, and both of you are division rivals, and that team who's 0-16 ends up whooping you. So, um, this part of the year I was very hesitant on whether we were going to make the playoffs or not, knowing that we have to play the Lions and the Rams and the Bucks, who we lost to heavily. So go lose to Detroit. Obviously, it was 33-28. Surprisingly, a lot closer. There's those close games. But when there's a close game, it's going to come down to coaching. And Lions coaching is so much better than the Saints. I mean, they're one of the best coaching staffs in all of the NFL. So 5-7 up to this point. Then you go play the Panthers, dominate them, sweep the Panthers on the entire year. Play the Giants, win 24-6. Probably should have been a bigger deficit, but you know what? 24-6, I'll take that. And I marked this as a loss before the season started. I kind of figured we'd lose to the Rams. 30-22 though on Thursday Night Football. I mean, it was a lot closer than I thought. I mean, there was a comeback. I thought there was a comeback brewing. I was intrigued at the end of that game. Then you go dominate the Buccaneers. So, like I said before, these division games, you could lose big time earlier on in the year, and then that second time you play, it's a completely different ball game. And this was an important game because then we would have needed the Bucks to lose the following week and the Saints to win the following week in order for the Saints to win the division. Saints were a couple losses away from a wild card spot too. Um, if the Packers lost, and I think if another team out, it was very confusing with the wild card situation. So I was just at that point in the year, I was hoping for the division. Panthers didn't help. So even though it was like 6-0 at one point, I don't that was a terrible game. Bucks, Panthers. It was probably one of the worst games on the entire year. And then week 18 comes, playing the Falcons. Going into that game, I'm thinking, all right, it seems like every time we play the Falcons, the Saints just dominate them that second game that late in the season. And they did 48-17. It was a big time win early on in the game. I had hopes we were gonna make the playoffs, but things happen. Bucks end up winning. Saints did win, but the Bucks ended up beating the Panthers. So Bucks ended up winning the division. Saints don't make the playoffs again. And I don't know. This year was a tough year. And it has nothing to do with any of the players either. I know people want to say Michael Thomas is injury prone, and Michael Thomas has been injured quite a bit. I love Michael Thomas. I want to see him in a Saints uniform for the rest of his entire career. He just needs to stay healthy. And when he's healthy, he looks like he's a Pro Bowl, all pro wide receiver again. And I'm so happy to see him when he is on the field. The issue is he needs to stay on the field. Um, there's times this year where really none of the receivers could get open because of the way the scheme was. Pete Carmichael was one of the worst offensive coordinators in the entire league. He couldn't get creative. He was just running the ball into our own offensive linemen. Offensive line wasn't blocking. Run game was non-existent. And receivers couldn't get open. There was no creative design plays. It was terrible. This was one of the worst designed offenses I've seen, without the Saints or not, throughout the entire league. The entire time I've been watching the NFL, this was one of the worst offenses based off the scheme that I've seen. Dennis Allen, I trust that we could win with Dennis Allen as a head coach, but it's dependent on who is calling the offensive plays because you can't stretch Dennis Allen thin. He needs to focus just on the defense, and that's it. He shouldn't have to worry about the quarterback situation. Saints go hire Clint Kubiak. Hopefully, this West Coast offense he brings in is going to be helpful. I hope it helps the run game out because Jamal Williams, I like Jamal Williams. I love the signing. He couldn't get anything going. Kamara suddenly found something this year that could prolong his career. His ability to just it was something I never saw out of Alvin Kamara because he's always found the holes very easily. And the last couple years since Drew Brees and Sean Payton left, he's had a hard time finding holes, and that's not his fault. That's whoever's coaching the offensive line isn't doing a good enough job to create space for anyone to run through. That's why guys like Taysom Hill end up doing a lot better running the ball because he can run over guys. It doesn't matter. Um, Notice I haven't talked about Taysom Hill. I will get to him. Kamara, he found something, a second gear this year, and I don't ever want to see him gone. Um, I want him to be a Saint for the rest of his career. He plays great no matter what. And it's so fun to watch Alvin Kamara. I knew when Kamara's rookie year hit, I knew Drew Brees was only going to have a couple years left, and I wanted to just see someone take over the franchise. And I saw Kamara, and he was awesome. He was going into quarterback rooms because he wanted to just learn more. This guy just wants to soak in as much information as possible, and I love that. He's such an awesome teammate. He's an awesome player to watch. He's just awesome. So, his ability to adapt to such a terrible offensive scheme was amazing. Jamal Williams, he's not as good as Kamara, but I wanted a little more out of him, and it sucks. Hopefully, this new scheme brings out more out of Jamal Williams, and hopefully a little more of Kendre Miller, the rookie. Gonna probably need a new fullback this year. Adam Prentice is a free agent. We really didn't use Adam. Adam Prentice is more of a tight end. a blocking tight end, and he's not like a fullback that you should use as a fullback. So we're gonna have to look for a new fullback this year. Wide receiver one, 1A, one B, one and two, whatever you want to call it. It's Chris Olave, Michael Thomas. I don't want to see Michael Thomas get traded, cut, or anything. I think you give Michael Thomas one more year. I mean, his contract says one more year, so just give it to him. Say, this is your shot. If you do nothing this year, we're gonna cut you. I don't want to see that happen. I trust if you give Michael Thomas the opportunity and give him enough targets that he can still be a Pro Bowl level wide receiver. Wide receiver three, I want to see more Rashid Shaheed. All year long, Rashid Shaheed was that sneaky little receiver that nobody was accounting for, and he did so great. He made his Pro Bowl as a return specialist. Rashid Shaheed was doing great as a returner. He was doing great as a receiver. He was doing great all around the entire field. He was awesome. He was such an underrated part of the entire team that I don't think the rest of the league understands just how important and how good he is. I can't wait to see more of him going forward. Tight end one, Juwan Johnson. I mean, Juwan Johnson didn't have a good start to the year. Couple injuries, and I just don't think the scheme was doing enough for him. And I don't think Derek Carr was really looking for him. And his routes weren't designed to be good, and they were forcing Foster Moreau to be a blocker because the offensive line wasn't doing well. So that was one less receiver that was going to go out there. And Juwan Johnson's an excellent receiver. Taysom Hill, I love Taysom Hill. I love watching him. He can do everything. He became one of 4 or 5 players in league history since 1920 to have 10 or more passing touchdowns, 10 or more rushing touchdowns, and 10 or more receiving touchdowns in a career. The other guys are all Hall of Famers except for one Detroit Lions player. And he does everything you need him to. At one point this year, Saints fans wanted him to be the quarterback because him in an option offense is going to create more looks at running the ball. So in the run game, if you're just doing the same style runs over and over again, just dives, the occasional toss, the occasional outside run, it's predictable. And you throw in Taysom Hill to do some option, and everybody's got to look his way because when he's in open space, he is a freight train. Uh, Having him and Kamara back there is incredible. Imagine triple options if he is the quarterback. Everybody knows he doesn't have the arm to be a quarterback, and that's really what's holding him back from being a starting quarterback somewhere, is he just doesn't have the arm. Um, he's such a great athlete. I don't want to see him go anywhere else ever. He's so important to this team that if you take him away, you're losing a blocker. You're losing a second tight end. You're losing a fullback. You're losing a running back. You're losing a goal line running back. You're losing an option quarterback. You're losing a receiver. You are losing a key special teamer on whether you're punting, on doing kickoffs, returning, or blocking for returners. He's so important and he's so important to the way this team is designed, the way any team is designed. If you put Taysom Hill on every team in the NFL, that player is so important on every single one of those teams because of how much they can do. I don't think he's getting paid enough, frankly. And I think a lot of people say he's getting overpaid. Look at how many touches he gets, and look at his yards per touch. Look at how much he does. Look at what he does. Are you going to say that left tackles and right tackles aren't getting paid enough, or blocking tight ends are getting paid enough? I don't think people factor in Taysom Hill as a blocker because he's so important as a blocker, as a lead blocker. He's just, and then he goes and runs over people, goes and catches red zone targets, goes and throws the passes occasionally. He does everything you need him to. If you need some spark, he is the spark every single game. Um, I never want to see him go. I hope he retire. I mean, he is older. A lot of people kind of forget that he came into the league older because of the injuries in college. Um, Goes to the Packers as quarterback, ends up coming to New Orleans, and is everything. I still don't really know what to call him on the depth chart, so I kind of wrote down athlete next to Taysom Hill's name. And you'll see that in a lot of posts that I make, Saints athlete Taysom Hill, because I don't know what to call him because he last year he was a tight end on the depth chart. This year he was a quarterback on the depth chart. Occasionally most of the time he's a quarterback. He runs a lot more than he throws, and he runs a lot more than he catches. So you could call him a running back. And he also plays a lot of special teams, so you can call him a special teamer. He also lines up wide with the wide receivers. Um, I never want to see him go. Uh, as for the offensive line going into next year, I really don't know what to expect. Andres Pete went and played left tackle this year because Trevor Penning wasn't very good. Um, Andres Pete is a free agent, so that's pretty big deal. I don't know if Trevor Penning's going to be the left tackle. I was very disappointed this year. He has character issues, to say it. Sometimes he gets into arguments and so he holds a lot. He causes a lot of penalties, and he deserved to be benched. I really want to see more of him because I think he can be very good. So hopefully this new scheme is beneficial to him. James Hurst, I think, is going to be the left guard. I don't know. Center is obviously Eric McCoy, made the Pro Bowl this year as an alternate. Cesar Ruiz signs a contract extension. Now he's going to be the right guard for a while. And Ryan Ramczyk is the right tackle, but I've heard rumors that he might retire because of injuries. So I think that's going to be the biggest question mark going into next season for the entire team. Is Ryan Ramczyk going to be on the Saints? Is he going to retire? What's going to happen? Because that is a all pro right tackle that you would be missing. And yes, he didn't have a very good year this year. I don't think anyone on the offensive line had a good year this year. I think you need a new scheme. That was the whole point of Pete Carmichael. Like he wasn't good. So I don't know. I'm hoping the best for Ryan Ramczyk. I hope if he retires, I understand. Um, if it is injuries, yeah, I get it. Um, but I do want to see him back next year. That might be a surprise retirement, like during training camp. He might just want to test out his legs and see if he could play. But who knows? That might be a question as to who's the right tackle. But yeah, going into next year, left tackle, left guard, right tackle, we might be seeing three-fifths of the Saints offensive line completely different. On defense, at defensive end, you got Cameron Jordan, Tano Passanio, Carl Granderson, and Peyton Turner on both sides. I mean, there's depth there. At defensive tackle, you have Brian Bresee, who's probably going to see significantly more time. He broke out at the end of last year. At the end of last year, he looked really good during some of the snaps. He was beating a lot of guys. I cannot wait to see more of him, especially next to Cameron Jordan and Carl Granderson. Kalen Saunders was okay this year, and Nathan Shepard, they were both okay. They were kind of guys that they were supposed to be role players, just to stop the run. Uh, that linebacker, you got P. Warner and Demario Davis. We don't know who's going to be playing next to Demario on the other side. Zach Bond's a free agent. So really got to look at maybe a linebacker in the draft, maybe pretty early in the draft. Now, as for cornerback, Paulson Adebo's going to be a cornerback. Alontae Taylor's going to be playing the slot. Marshawn Lattimore, I've heard a lot of rumors that he might get traded. I really don't want to ever see that. There's no reason Marshawn Lattimore should be traded. If he gets hurt this year, okay. He's been hurt, but when he comes back, he suddenly just dominates. He's just still this all-pro level cornerback. I love watching Marshawn Lattimore. He can lock up so many guys. he's so important to this defense. If you take him away, Adebo and Alontae Taylor, they're okay. They're good. I think Adebo started to really get better and better last year. I think it's going to be amazing to watch Lattimore and Adebo on opposite sides. So yeah, that's I don't want to see Lattimore go. Free safety, Tyrann Mathieu. He's not going anywhere. Marcus May, that's a big question mark for me because Marcus May had the suspension, got injuries. He really just, when he's on the field, he doesn't look that great. He was benched at one point, so I don't know if Marcus May is under contract, but I don't know if I'm going to see him on the Saints next year. Jonathan Abram started over him, so I have a big question mark next to Marcus May. And then kicker Blake Grupe, big question mark. A lot of people don't want Grupe and they think he might go, and then a lot of people like him. I think he's good. I think he can get better. There's potential there. Some people think he's not good. I mean, I've had people make fun of him to me, and then he goes and kicks great clutch kicks. So I don't know. I thought he was okay. Lou Hedley at punter. I'm not a big fan of the Australian style punters unless they're like this dramatically great generational punter. And I just haven't seen that. Lou Hedley I'm not a huge fan of. I love his story. I love his story. I would love him on the roster, but I think it causes so many issues because you're losing during one of the games later in the year, there was no penalty called on a roughing the kicker, roughing the punter because he was doing the Australian styles punt. So we know there was no penalty on that. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. You got two young kicker and punters, so who knows if they're gonna be there next year. And as for really Derek Carr, I don't know if Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback next year or if there's going to be a rookie quarterback. You got what, 2 years left on Derek Carr's contract? And that contract really didn't look that good. We didn't really see all that much last year. Hopefully, the offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, is going to show the potential of this entire offense. So I would like to see a rookie quarterback, maybe. I mean, I've wanted to see a rookie quarterback since Drew Brees. I've been wanting to draft a rookie quarterback for so long. Every single year, I feel like, all right, we're going to draft a quarterback. We're trading up to draft a quarterback, and then we don't. Um, like the year Lamar Jackson came out and Saints traded up, I'm thinking, oh, we're getting Lamar Jackson. We're getting Lamar Jackson. We didn't get Lamar Jackson. Um, the the 1 year Mahomes' draft, I thought we were going to trade up and draft one of the quarterbacks, and that didn't happen. Yeah, every year I feel like we might trade up to draft a quarterback, and we don't. I just want to see a rookie quarterback. I want to see someone new. Not Ian Book. And Derek Carr's not getting any younger. You knew he wasn't going to be the long-term answer. You got to at some point draft a rookie quarterback. And I've looked at some tape on all these rookie quarterbacks. I like some of them. I don't love any of them. And we'll see. Um, Next year's schedule is not going to be any easier. And I just I think we'll know the first couple weeks just how good the Saints are going to be because if Clint Kubiak is running the offense very well the first couple weeks, then I'm going to be excited. If the offense isn't doing much, I know that next year is going to go down the drain. Next year might be a make or break year for a lot of veterans. Um, if the Saints don't do well, end up going below 500, we might see guys like Kamara, Michael Thomas, Taysom Hill, um, and maybe Marshawn Lattimore go. I don't know. I won't be shocked. And Dennis Allen obviously being on the hot seat, he could get fired, and I won't be shocked. I thought he was going to get fired. I really did, and he didn't. So I don't know. I think the organization just sees him as this great defensive mind, and he is. He's so good at calling defense. Because I know if he goes, gets fired, he's gonna get hired as a defensive coordinator somewhere, and they're gonna have a top 10 defense. I know it. I can see it. And I don't want to lose that because I know Dennis Allen can create a championship level defense, but someone on the offense needs to do something. So, uh, all hands on deck. Clint Kubiak, I'm rooting for you. I want to see this new defense. I want to see this new offense under Clint Kubiak, and maybe someone new at quarterback. I want to know that there's going to be someone for the future. Right now, 5 years from now, I don't know if Kamara is going to be on the Saints. I don't know if Jamal Williams, Chris Olave seems like he'll be a Saint for a little bit. Rashid Shaheed, same thing. Juwan Johnson's probably going to be a Saint for a little bit. I don't know if anyone on the offensive line outside of Eric McCoy is going to be here down the road. Cesar Ruiz, I know he got the contract extension, but he's been very inconsistent at times. I know Cameron Jordan's not getting any younger. Brian Bresee a rookie, so he could. Well, jury's still out on him. Carl Granderson got a contract extension. I love Carl Granderson, so he'll probably be here for a little bit. Pete Warner, I love watching him. Demario Davis ain't getting any younger. Lattimore's not getting any younger. Debo, if he plays like he did last year, he'll be playing with the Saints for a while. Tyrann Mathieu's not getting any younger. Marcus May's not getting any younger. So this is a make or break year, and you need something to look for the future. You need someone that can be the future of this franchise. So just try and get a rookie quarterback this year or next year. Um, that's all I'm really looking for. In terms of free agents, not really anyone I really want to re-sign. Um, yeah, I don't think I want to re-sign anyone. Maybe Andres Pete. I don't know. I know a lot of Saints fans don't. I know a lot of people don't like Andres Pete. I think he's fine. I think with a good coach, he could be a very good offensive lineman. So we'll see. But anyways, there's my recap on the Saints season, my thoughts, and I'm just hoping for a good year. I don't have Super Bowl expectations yet. Um, I think I'll have Super Bowl expectations when I see maybe a different quarterback and or a elite offensive coordinator. So we'll see. All right, go Saints. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs on winning Super Bowl 58 over the San Francisco 49ers. And in honor of the Super Bowl and the end of the NFL season, we're going to be doing a giveaway for a Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl jersey. If you want a chance to win this Patrick Mahomes jersey, all you have to do is comment down below. This doesn't help out your chances at winning the jersey, but if you want to subscribe to us, you can as well. A winner will be announced on March 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, only thing you need to do is comment down below.